Hello, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. It's the Keeping It Real show on Reconcilers Radio. My name is Amanda, and I'm the host for the show. And it's every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So today I am joined by a special guest. His name is Patrick Grant, and Patrick is beyond a maths teacher. Actually, he's not just a maths teacher. He's a mentor, motivational maths mentor. And from speaking to him, it seems like there's more than just maths motivation, because I believe he motivates people into their purpose, because he himself had to leave his job behind, if you were listening to the show earlier, and pursue his purpose. So yes, just before the break, we were talking about Patrick. Patrick had a dream, and the Lord revealed a dream to him, and it was about pursuing his purpose, and he followed on that dream. And yes, listeners, so thank you so much for joining us, Patrick.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope your listeners are enjoying what we have to say.
Yes. So just before the break, I believe Vincent and Joe sent a message about what age groups that you teach for maths.
Some of the workshops, the ages vary. I try to keep abilities and skill likes together, from the ages of 6 years old all the way up to adulthood.
Wow.
Really.
So different ages.
Yeah, and different levels, all the way up to A level, up to degree level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So also, what some of the questions obviously we would like to ask about maths. Obviously, maths is something that some people find a struggle with.
Sure.
And it's for me personally, it was something that was difficult. Sure. And my maths teacher was so lovely. It was one of my best teachers out of everybody. It was such a struggle. So what is the big deal? What is the big deal about maths?
Well, the thing about maths, number one, is the hurdle that you have to get over initially is that maths is not tangible. It's not something that you can hold like a mobile phone or an orange or what have you. You can't hold it, you can't feel it. So you're working with a sort of a non-entity, so to speak. So you have to get your head around that. The second thing is that whoever's teaching you maths, they have to be the right person, because some people are very visual and some people are very verbal. Nowadays in schools, what you find is that when children, especially black children, if they're not picking up the maths or the lesson that's being taught, straight away the teacher tends to assume that there's an issue with the child.
Yes.
And the problem that you have there is this, very, very simple. A lot of white teachers have been taught maths, but not necessarily how to pass on the discipline, so to speak. So if they have a child in their class who doesn't understand maths, a black child, they are not going to look at themselves to say, well, is it me? Can I try a better technique? They're not looking at the resources that they are using. Can I try different resources? What they're doing is basically just saying, well, the child is not teachable. He's got some head problems, mental health issues.
Yeah, or like an average child.
And then they label you. And the reason why they do this is because it's all about money. Schools are a business.
Wow.
If they're able to label you, it's the school gets more money.
And also, I think the difficulties are, we said, children learning differently. Some people are very visual learners, and for others, everybody learns very different. Some people are visual, some people, through words or whichever form, and sometimes they don't take the time to figure out what this child is actually good at.
And you also have to understand, when you're teaching a child maths, especially when that child is going to secondary school, when they're going to primary school, it's not so bad, but when they're going to secondary school, you also really need to be teaching that child the discipline that they are learning. How does it apply to their lives? So they can get more of a sense. Because the
discipline that they're learning, does it have to do with maths per se?
The discipline within maths, because within maths you have many disciplines. You have, for example, just adding, subtraction, division, multiplication, algebra, quadratic equations, you name it, ratios, angles. There's so many different statistics. It goes on and on. But so they are just different disciplines within maths. Each discipline has its own set of rules and its own level of understanding. And if you are able to break down a discipline and you teach the student the laws of that discipline, it's no different than taking a bus. Right.
So we need to understand the foundation about maths. Thank you, Kwabena Nick Joshua, for joining us. So the foundation
Absolutely.
of the subject.
Well, a builder cannot build a house without a foundation. If there's no foundation, then you can't build a house. It's the same with maths. If you don't lay the foundation, there's nothing to build it on. Some parents will come to you and they will say, "Oh, my child is very good at maths, and I want you to take them to the next level." Well, that's not a problem. But then again, one of the things you have to ask as a teacher or a motivator, maths motivator, is what ruler are you using to measure? Because if you're using your ruler, that doesn't necessarily say that your child is good or bad. You understand? So it's really all about, for me, a child coming in front of me, and I'll spend time to assess the child, work with the child, and I usually just give the child a little test. And the questions that they get wrong, those are the questions that you need to work with.
Yes, without telling them
logics
and putting them down or questioning them. No,
that's right. You give them a multitude of different questions, and what they answer and they get right comfortably. You really don't need to spend too much time on that. The ones that they don't quite understand, those are the ones that you need to run open heart surgery on.
Wow.
And break it down and give them an understanding. That's really
and that's really, really amazing. And obviously, some of the services that you offer, would you be able to tell us some of the services that you offer, and also some of the groups or mentoring that you do for young children?
As for maths, I offer one-to-one teachings. I offer group teachings. I also offer Skype teachings, because it all depends. If you find that maybe you live a way away, but you still want lessons, I offer a Skype surgery where once a week we come online and we work with you and we break down the sums. I offer group surgery where it's usually you're classed with students of similar ability or above to work with you, so that allows you to raise your game, because you're working with people who are on the same level or are maybe a little bit higher. And then you have some students who prefer to work on a one-to-one basis because their confidence may be a little bit low and they low self-esteem. So, because when you're teaching maths, or when I'm teaching maths, it's not just about numbers for me. It's about the whole person, the holistic process. It's about their whole being, working from their head to the toe. Because you see, you have to, as I said, to give somebody a level of understanding, they have to be in the right frame of mind. It's no different than having a whiteboard with loads of maths equations on it. If I want to teach you something new, I have to clean everything on that board and make the board white, make it clear. It's no different with a student.
That's amazing. Yeah. So yes, if you just join the show, I'm joined by my guest for today is Patrick Brown, and Patrick, has been called, or God has led him, into the purpose of helping young people, or not just young people, anybody, work towards, should I say, maths, and not just maths as such, but anybody that feels called, to pursue their purpose but is struggling. And for Patrick, he left his full-time job, after receiving a dream, after receiving a dream about pursuing his purpose. He left his full-time job to pursue what he's doing, and that's teaching children maths. And God has given us so many gifts. It doesn't have to be singing, doesn't have to be reading the word and preaching the word on the streets. It could be through the gifts that he's given us, like what Patrick has, teaching little children maths. And I believe it's an area that we all struggle with, and I struggled with it in school, no matter how lovely my maths teacher was. So yes, if you just joined the show, that is what we're talking about. And I believe it's such an important subject. You'll be able to apply maths because we apply maths in all areas of our lives. So yes. Okay, so why are numbers so important? And I know that obviously there's a book in the Bible called Numbers. And I know there's a lot of laws and stuff. I've not read the whole of Numbers. But why are numbers so important?
Well, without numbers, this world couldn't run. For example, a human being, your heart, it beats at a certain rate. That's numbers. If your heart doesn't beat at the rate it's supposed to beat, you have the potential of getting a heart attack.
Wow.
If the blood that runs through your veins doesn't move in the micro and nanoseconds that they're supposed to move in at that rate, there's issues with blood pressure. Everything about you as a human being you function off of time. It's timing. You know, the way you move your head, your neck, everything is about timing.
Yeah, you need to be at the right place at the right time.
It's all about numbers.
The right opportunity at the right time.
Absolutely. You know, and it's really about understanding who you are as a person and the main numbers in your life. You know, because sometimes there are many of us who are working off of negative numbers. Now, there may be some individuals who feel, they're doing negative stuff, you know, and they're making big money and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. That's fine, but what they fail to understand is, in a math sense, you're functioning in a negative area. Like if you have a graph, you have a positive side and a negative side, and you may be rising high, but you are rising high in a negative area, which means that at any point that can come crashing down. At any point, because it's negative. It's negative. Just look up negative and see what it means.
Wow.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So you may feel that you're riding a crest of a wave, you know, but you're doing all this, you know, wrongdoing stuff and really making it. But, you know, you're just using negative numbers and negative numbers doesn't take you.
It's amazing how God has created all of us in the way we all think. I'm more of an imaginative, creative person, and I'm starting to realize it now. Like, you can speak to me a number, and I see it in a picture.
Right.
Everything you speak to me, I actually see in the images.
That's good.
And for you see in numbers.
Yes,
and it's not amazing thing that God, you know, creates all of us differently.
Absolutely.
You know, for a purpose.
Well, you see, for me, when I picture God, I picture Him as the conductor, and we are all members of a massive orchestra. And you know, when an orchestra is warming up, it sounds very chaotic. But when the conductor comes in and he taps his baton, so whether you're focusing on pictures and I'm focusing on numbers, once he taps his baton and we align, we create harmony, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow. And you have to know when to come in.
Absolutely.
And, you know, you have to know what your part is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, wow, that's amazing. That's so beautiful. And it's nice to see things from your perspective. At first, I was like, maths? No, I struggle with maths. You know, I struggled with maths. But yes, so listeners. So, yes, if you have any questions, please send it over to Patrick as well. So, after a music break, we're going to talk even more about what Patrick does, his services, how you can get in touch with him. You know, he's on Skype, as well as maybe online, or a website that he has as well, and also the mentoring groups and what part of London that, you know, your children can partake in. And I believe that, you know, it's so important. Like I said, I struggled with maths, and I believe when you're doing well at maths at school, you feel so much confident. You know, just trying to check who's on here. Thank you for all those who've joined me. Thank you, Samantha and Kabnanik Joshua, also for joining me, and for 2 other people who've joined as well. And I believe it's something to do with your confidence, because once you feel like you got 0, you know, in a maths, or you got like a bad grade, because maths is supposed to be one of your strong points, maths and English, and once you have those two, it feels like you can study anything. Once you didn't get through your maths or English GCSE, you can't even study at college. You have to resit, and it's fundamental. One of those fundamental subjects that you have to make sure you get through in order to get through to life.
Have you noticed that whenever students are looking at their results, they're always praying and hoping that they get good maths results?
Yeah.
You notice that?
Oh, yeah, I prayed for my maths results. Like,
this
letter.
What you have to understand, we are all actually walking mathematicians.
Wow.
We just don't realise it. We use maths every day when we come out of our house. Do we turn left? Do we turn right? You know what I mean? Am I going to go this way? Am I going that way? There are so many different choices, mathematical choices that we make in life, but we just do it. Second nature, we just do it. So we don't really give maths any emphasis. But I can't stress highly enough the importance of maths, and how if you are able to grasp the concept, it can make your life so much easier.
Amazing. So yes, listeners, we're going to go on a music break, and when we come back, we'll be able to, you know, talk more about Patrick's services, and also how you can get in touch, and also the importance of maths. So stay tuned. Okay. So we're going to come back on Facebook Live again. Sorry, guys. Come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll be able to talk more. And Patrick will be able to share, you know, everything that he does and his services around as well. So if you know anybody who is struggling with maths, especially children who are struggling to understand it, or anybody, you know, who wants to go into the area of maths, whether it's teaching. And I think, you know, when it comes to aerospace, engineering, there's not a lot of, should I say, young black children in that area. And because they struggle with science and maths.
Absolutely.
And so you know, if you can help your children get that foundation, whatever feel like they've been called to, maybe, I don't know, they've been called to go to the moon, or they've been called, you know, to be astronauts, you know, and there was a few black people that have been to the moon and been astronauts and stuff. But majority of us, we're just gonna stick to the things here on Earth, you know, just work on Earth.
That's right.
We don't want to go to the moon because
right.
it just seems like too much studies.
Say that for the white boys.
So exactly, it's sad, isn't it?
Very sad. Very, very sad.
Very sad.
They seem to want to conquer everything that's natural.
Yeah.
Where we look at the moon and the stars, we admire it. They look at the moon and want to get
there. And we look at the moon and stars and we're like, yeah,
wow.
Selfie with the selfies. Take a little picture, you know,
Absolutely.
of the stars and everything that's happening.
Absolutely.
And God wants us to do more and not limit ourselves.
Absolutely.
So yes, guys. So we're going to join you back after the break. So please join us shortly.